My friends, this is Dr. B, the best doctor in medicine and the most caring doctor in medicine. After more than 30 years at high level in medicine, Dr. B wants to remind you to never forget that Dr. B genuinely cares about you and Dr. B genuinely loves you, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. Today I want to talk to you about why is it that so many young people are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer, cancer of the large intestine. Yesterday at our beautiful cardiovascular clinic in the beautiful but expensive city of Mountain View, California, I saw a young lady, 55 years young, just yesterday, come to our beautiful clinic for Dr. B to check her heart. I check her heart with the ultrasound system. Dr. B is an expert in echocardiography, in medical imaging. So I checked the heart of the lady to make sure that the heart is okay before she undergoes chemotherapy for colorectal cancer. This lady, 55 years young, got diagnosed a few weeks ago. She had surgery for colon cancer, and her colon, part of her colon was removed and blah, blah, blah. And now she needs to have chemotherapy. And before she has the chemotherapy, her oncologist sent her to our beautiful clinic to make sure that her heart is okay. Thank God the heart is okay. She can undergo chemotherapy. Some medications that they give during chemotherapy, some medication can cause damage to the heart. So before they undergo this chemotherapy with some chemotherapeutic agents that we call cytotoxic chemotherapeutic agents, it is a good idea to have an ultrasound of the heart to make sure that the heart is okay. Why is it? So it gave me an inspiration for this video to tell you, to explain to you what you can do to protect yourself. Why is it that so many young people now in their 40s and in their 50s are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer, which is a cancer that I used to see when I was in medical school many years ago in people who were in their 70s, 80s, 90s. It was the cancer, colon cancer, used to be the cancer of the old man, the cancer of the old woman, but now we see it in people who are in their 40s, people who are in their 50s, like this patient 55, and people who are in their 60s. It's crazy. And the incidence, the number of new cases of colon cancer is increasing, skyrocketing in every country in the world, not just here in the US, but also Canada, Australia, Europe, Asia, everywhere. The incidence of colorectal cancer in young people is increasing like crazy. And why is that? Well, the reason is very simple. All these people who are now 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, who are being diagnosed with colon cancer, well, when they were teenagers and little kids 40 years, 50 years ago, that's the time when good food got replaced by nasty junk food. That's the time when alcohol became more popular, wine, tequila, beer, blah, 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 right? So people started, all these patients who are now being diagnosed at a young age, at the age of 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, when they were kids, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 40 years ago, that's when their mom and dad started to feed them with nasty processed meat, started to feed them with low fiber diets, started to feed them with food that is full of pesticides, carcinogens, insecticides, right? And obviously, after eating processed food, super processed food, drinking alcohol, right? Eating food full of pesticides, insecticides, carcinogens, dyes, right? All these colors that they put in the nasty food, nitrates and nitrites. Well, no wonder why after 40, 50, 60 years of eating all these nasty foods, the guy who is now 40 years young, 50 years young, 60 years young, he is developing colon cancer, right? So it's not rocket science. So the patient, I discussed with that beautiful patient, 55 years young, who's going to have also after the surgery, chemotherapy, because she was stage 3 colon cancer, so she needs chemotherapy. Hopefully she will be okay, at least she's not stage 4. Stage 4 colon cancer, really bad. It's in your liver, your brain, your lungs. Oh my God, it's a disaster. Life expectancy is very short, a few months to maybe 1 or 2 years. And by the time, during those few months or 1 or 2 years, you are constantly suffering like crazy. It's not like you have a good life during these few months or 1 or 2 years. You are constantly under chemo, radiation, sick. You need to have test after test, blood test after blood test, CT, PET scan, again chemotherapy. I mean, it's crazy. People suffer during those times when they are not in complete remission. So this lady, this beautiful lady, I was talking to her and explained, because she asked me that she was surprised when she got diagnosed at such a young age. And in a very nice and professional way, I told her about the reason why we see now more and more people being diagnosed at a very young age with colon cancer, which used to be, when I was in medical school many years ago, the cancer of the old man and the old woman. Remember, there is something called latency phase of carcinogenesis, which means that cancer doesn't appear within a few months. If I go under the sunlight without any protection against the ultraviolet radiation, it's going to take decades for me to develop skin cancer. If I start smoking, like my uncle who passed away a few months ago in Canada in his mid-70s, that guy, as far as I remember since I was a little kid, this guy was a smoker. He's been smoking for probably since he was in his, teens or blah, 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 and he just passed away. And he passed away after suffering for a few years, chemotherapy, surgery, blah. It's not like he had a happy life before he passed away. He went through a hell before he passed away. May God rest his soul, of lung cancer. So I explained to that nice lady about this latency phase of cancer. It takes a long time for cancer to appear because it takes many years of junk food, alcohol, ultraviolet radiation, cigarette smoking for these nasty carcinogens to cause what Dr. Carl Nordling in 1953 called the multi-mutation theory of cancer. We know it's not a mutation yet. At that time, he called it the multi-mutation theory of cancer. And I explain. In order for cancer to appear in your lungs, in your brain, in your kidney, in your liver, in your pancreas, in your boobs, cancer doesn't appear just like that. It requires the accumulations of many mutations in the DNA of your stem cells. That's why Dr. Carl Nordling in 1953 called it the multi-mutation theory of cancer. Now we would just call it the multi-mutation foundation of cancer. We know now that people who smoke, when they develop lung cancer, it is because for many decades we needed the accumulation of many years, many mutations, one after the other, mutation in the DNA of the stem cells of the lungs. A woman who develops breast cancer, it doesn't happen just like that. It requires over many years, sometimes decades, the accumulation of many mutations in the DNA of the stem cells of the breast. So I explained to this young, beautiful lady, 55 years young, I explained to her that every organ, whether it's your thyroid, your brain, your liver, your kidney, your boobs, your testicles, your prostate, right? Every organ has stem cells, beautiful stem cells that allows the cells to replicate and replace the old cells, right? And I explained to her that the stem cells of her colon underwent during many decades before in her past life, those stem cells underwent many different mutations that have accumulated, and at a certain level limit of many mutations, that's it, the stem cells become cancerous. That's why I explained to her, to make her understand that her cancer was not the result of what she did just last year or yesterday or 2 days ago. It is the result of many, many years, decades, since she was a little kid, of food, poison, carcinogen, insecticide, pesticides that we all get in our food. And she was shocked. And I explained to her that all the food that she's been fed since she was a little baby, since she was a little kid, I see in my neighborhood, in that beautiful park, people, these little kids who is only 2 years old, they give him nasty junk food, pizza to a 2-year-old kid, a 3-year-old, 4-year-old kid, burgers, fries, chicken McNuggets to this little kid that is 4 years old. Well, when you give food that is full of carcinogen, right, to a little 2-year-old, to a year-old, 3-year-old, to a 5-year-old, and you keep doing it every day for the next 40, 50 years, well, you create the accumulation of mutations in the DNA of those beautiful stem cells of the colon, stomachs, and everywhere else. And that's why that kid who is now 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and being fed nasty junk food full of carcinogen, pesticide, insecticides, that kid in 40 years, in 50 years, as a young adult, will develop colon cancer, liver cancer, brain cancer, boob cancer, testicular, many different cancer, especially also pancreatic cancer. So I explained to her in a nice professional way, this is the mechanism of carcinogenesis. The mechanism of carcinogenesis, the latency phase. Latency means hidden. Why is it that it takes so long for cancer to appear? And again, I gave her the example of my uncle, who has been smoking for many decades, who died in Canada in his mid-70s. That guy has been smoking for decades, and slowly over time, the carcinogen in the smoke, in the tobacco smoke, caused the accumulations of many different mutations, harmful mutations in the DNA of his lungs stem cells, and that's it. They became cancerous and he passed away. Isn't my molecular biology so beautiful, guys? Dr. B is an expert in molecular biology, biochemistry, medicine, surgery, biology, everything. I know it all. I know it all, guys, and I keep studying and reading every day to improve my knowledge, despite being in health sciences for more than 30 years, guys. So make sure that you get screened for colon cancer if you are at high risk, right? Make sure you stop smoking, stop alcohol, right? Stop eating junk food, right? Make sure you have probiotics, right? Make sure you have dietary fibers, right? This is what Dr. B does. When I changed my lifestyle about 10 years ago, right now, October 2025, Dr. B, 50 years young. About 10 years ago, I woke up. I stopped eating junk food, nasty red meat, which is a group 1 carcinogen, right? Processed, nasty, every nasty meat that you can buy here. It's just processed, nasty meat. I never put that into my freaking mouth as of 10 years ago. No alcohol. And I make sure that I have at least 30 grams of dietary fibers in the food that I eat. I eat at least 60 grams, minimum 30 grams per day. You need to have dietary fibers in order to lower your risk of colon cancer. In addition to that, Dr. B does it 60. So double the minimum required. In addition to that, I eat every day 1 tablespoon of yogurt, no sugar, nothing, fat-free, right? To get my healthy probiotics. In addition, I eat 1 capsule of probiotics that I order online, healthy probiotics that I eat, full of healthy probiotics. And I have removed all processed food from my diet. So my risk of colon cancer is extremely low. I hope that you can do that yourself too. You need to wake up. It is never, ever, ever too late to wake up and to implement lifestyle changes and stop giving nasty processed food to your kids, guys, because this kid who is now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, who is eating this Burger King, McDonald's, nasty pizzas, I mean, it's crazy. That kid, your kid, in 40 years, in 50 years, when that kid will be my age, 50 years young, right? That kid will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, dementia, because of all this nasty food that you've been giving your kid since that age of 2 or 3, when they can start chewing solid food, right? I mean, it's crazy. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up for yourself, wake up for your wife, wake up for your husband, wake up for your kids, and change your life. I love you guys. Dr. B loves you regardless of your ethnicity, color of your skin, religion, whether you're an atheist or religious, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, independent, I don't give a cut. So whether you're a male or female, or you claim to be anything in between, regardless of your sexual orientation, I really don't care. I took the Hippocratic Oath as a doctor to love every human being regardless. And I also promised that I will never put my benefit above yours. You will always be above mine, and also I will never BS you. I will always bring you the science, and the science is here at the National Library of Medicine, PubMed. This is all the publications in science, medicine, surgery, pharmacology, biology, biochemistry. Everything is in there and in Dr. B's brain. Thank you so much for your viewership, for your encouragements, for your tips, for your messages of love and affection, and also for your criticism. I love your criticism to help improve myself and this channel so that I can reach more people. Unlike my ex-girlfriends, I am absolutely open to criticisms. I love you guys. I love you. Put your comments, your question, your criticism down there. I promise I will get back to all of you. Khop kun mak, khop kun nak krap, sawadee krap, and I hope to talk to you next time. Bye-bye.